You're listening to Podcasting Up an Octave, a podcast by Sonivia, the podcasting agency that believes that women and queer people deserve to take up space in the podcasting industry because our thoughts, voices, and stories matter. Here you'll learn how to make a dope podcast that inspires, educates, converts, and most importantly, makes your voice shine. I'm your host, Rue Spence, and I'm here to take podcasting up an octave. Let's get into it. Hello, and welcome back to Podcasting Up an Octave. Today, we are riding the AI train all the way into the station, and I am back to talk with you about AI for content creators and how to shape your mindset around accepting new tools into your workflow. Because last week, I talked so much about how beneficial AI is for podcasters, but I really want to talk about some of the mental blocks that can come up around using AI or integrating AI into your workflow. The biggest one is I see people talking about AI as taking a shortcut or cheating. And I just really want to talk about how that could not be the case when you're using it ethically, and to liberate you and remove any guilt or hesitation you have on this topic. I want you to feel empowered to embrace AI, to enhance your creativity, not to feel hindered or restricted by it, or for God's sakes, to be judging yourself for it. I will admit that I was not the earliest adopter of using AI, and I still don't use it nearly as much as I know other people do. I recently posted on the podcast support community where I'm a moderator and just asked people how they're using AI in their current podcasting workflow. And there were so many different answers of every different level of use. And I am thoroughly in the middle. I was nervous to use AI. I was nervous about the ethics of it. I was nervous that it would make me sound like a robot and I would be making a splash and diving into everything. I still do use M-dashes though, and you can pry them out of my cold dead hands. But, I was wondering if it still counted. And then I kind of realized that I use a dishwasher. And I will elaborate on what I mean here. But I love to cook. I like to bake. I love to cook. What brings me joy is creating a meal to share with people I love. What does not bring me joy is the sink full of dishes afterwards. It just goes with the territory that there's going to be dishes after you cook a big meal. That's just kind of the rule. But it would inhibit me from making those big meals if I didn't have access to a dishwasher. And in seasons of my life where I haven't, it absolutely has inhibited me from making those big meals. One pot meals, you betcha. Using a dishwasher is kind of like using AI to me. It automates the process. You still have to load the dishes. You still have to unload them in the morning, but it takes out the grunt work of doing the gross, touching the food situation, breaking nails, all that jazz. It automates that part so that you can focus on cooking the meal. Cooking the meal is the creativity. You don't get a gold star for washing your dishes by hand. And that's really how I see incorporating AI into your workflow as well. Actually generating the content, getting on the mic, sharing your special sauce, sharing what makes you you, that is the creativity. The framework for it, the post-production stuff, the show note generation, that isn't the magic. That is the dishes at the end of the meal. If using AI allows you to make a beautiful meal for your audience, who cares how the dishes get washed? I also think that, and this is like, we're getting way deeper than podcasting right now. I think that we are in such a culture, and I know that especially for Americans, there is this pick yourself up by your bootstraps idea. And it has so much led to burnout culture where, there's this, oh, well, I do this and this and this. I mean, I can remember when I was like 20 probably, I was taking 21 credit hours and I was working darn near full time in a sports bar. until like close. Like I would literally work from like 5 p.m. to 2 a.m. and then go home and write a paper and then go to an 8 a.m. algebra class. Like that's ridiculous. And I was so proud of myself because I was like, look how hard I'm working. And I was exhausted and I was sick all the time. And you betcha my grades were not what I had hoped for them to be. And, I think it's the same in entrepreneurship and just in being a grown up in general, that you don't get extra points for doing it exhausted. And honestly, I'm talking a lot more about the political landscape. I see being rested as an act of revolution. That if you can enter a space of feeling luxuriated upon and feeling zen and peaceful, I think that allows you to enter a space of resistance in a really different way than the people who are exhausted. And I think rest in this ecosystem is absolutely a point of privilege because there are a lot of people who are being relied upon to work around the clock and to do more and reach higher. I believe that if AI can make that privilege more accessible to more people, then that's a really, really freaking beautiful thing. I was recently talking with Anna Maria, who is the founder of Misfit Magpie Designs, and she also talked about, after listening to the last episode, how impactful the way that I'm framing AI is for her as someone who is in that solopreneur space, who is tapped from the work that she's doing and just being alive. And so much of her brand is centered around how she operates as a neurodivergent creator and business owner and what that looks like for her. And some of the feedback that she was giving is just that it can make the processes of having a business more sustainable. And she really highlighted it for neurodivergent folks and people with disabilities. While, she highlighted to me in our DMs about how the time that it can save people by making things more accessible and improving efficiency is something that's really significant to her. Anna Maria, thank you for listening all the way from Finland, by the way. Thank you so much for sharing that with me. That really means a lot to have that conversation with you. But also, I love her highlighting how helpful it is, especially for people with ADHD or other neurodivergences who benefit from having the extra support of structure, of being able to say, I know I want to make this thing. How? And that's something that I use it for so often as well, is to just overcome that blank page fear of, okay, I know I want to talk about this. I know I have ideas around this, but I'm stuck. I have writer's block, or I'm so creatively and emotionally tapped from whatever. I don't have the brain space to make this. That relying on something like ChatGPT as a component of your creative process can actually help you become a better creative. And this is not at all about letting it do it for you. And I think that when we see people who are really opposed to AI as a concept, that is kind of the thought process, is like, oh, well, it's just creating it for you. This is AI generated. This is just AI. But if you use AI as an assistant, if it is working in tandem with you to help you get out of your own head, that is nothing but positive. So I want to spend a little bit of time just breaking down some of the biggest AI myths that I hear, especially in the podcasting space. So number one, AI is going to make your content generic. And that is absolutely true. Big if, you don't train it. If you just open a ChatGPT window and you're like, make me a podcast, it is going to be absolutely terrible. But if you feed it the right prompts, if you spend the time training it like you would train any employee or VA, that's when it can actually start to support you. The other big myth that I hear is that AI replaces creativity. I disagree with this for all the reasons that we've mentioned, but also because I know that it can help with presenting ideas you may not have thought of. And that's especially relevant when we get so stuck in our head and spend so much time actually doing the work that we forget what the work looks like from an outside perspective. That for the people who aren't as in your wheelhouse, they don't know the things that you take for granted on a daily basis. And AI is instrumental in helping you remember that and allowing you to think of new things based on that might have been kind of in a blind spot for you. Another myth that I hear a lot is that AI means you're not doing the work. And I push back on this like with the dishwasher. To me, AI liberates you to do the work that actually matters. There is work that doesn't need to be done by hand, like with show notes. That's the biggest one that I just basically completely offload to AI, is having bomb show notes. And when I was spending time, let's say even 20 minutes, generating show notes, that was 20 minutes I wasn't spending with my kid, who is often, Miss Rachelin and coloring it up while I am getting work done. I would rather have that 20 minutes with her. I would rather her have 20 minutes fewer of screen time. I would rather us go to the park for 20 minutes than for me to be sitting there writing show notes. I would rather be doing client work and answering emails and connecting with people who mean something to me than writing show notes. Using AI in that way, with my bowling bumpers up around it, has been instrumental in allowing me to get back to the good stuff. And if AI has felt weird or clunky before, it's almost certainly because you're not using it strategically. That's why I am so excited about podcasting on autopilot. It's the course where I'm going to teach you exactly how to make it work for you so that you can spend those 20 minutes or hours or however long you're spending washing your podcast's dishes by hand at the park, doing things that matter to you, having fun, resting, reading a book, who cares, but not doing that grunt work. Now, because I am practical beyond what is probably good for me, it's 2025, and I personally have been using AI for over 2 years, and that's as someone who wasn't an early adopter of it, but I wanted to see where things went with it. And I'm here to tell you that AI is here to stay, and I know that the people who are integrating it into their business ethically and effectively and strategically are going to be the ones who thrive. So I've still got my freebie, 5 AI prompts for easier podcasting. It's available at the link in my show notes, which I promise you, ChatGPT helps me write. But that is going to be the easiest way to get on to the waitlist for podcasting on autopilot, AI that works for you, my course, which is opening on February 21st. This is going to be the course that changes everything and takes AI from feeling scary and clunky to helping you create a podcasting process that feels magical and easy, that lets you focus on creating instead of getting stuck in the weeds. AI makes that possible, and if you're ready to make podcasting easier, more profitable, more efficient, more fun, more magical, I will see you inside podcasting on autopilot. Thank you so much for being here, taking the time to get out of your comfort zone, and for helping me take podcasting up an octave.